College, Jason Johnson, editor of Citizen Jane Politics and contributor for Newsweek and the Daily Beast, Patricia Murphy, and MSNBC contributor and former Bush Cheney senior advisor, Robert Traynham. And a welcome to all three of you. Good day. Hey, Alex.
Good day.
Jason, I'll begin with you because some pretty strong reaction today to the comments the president made about race on Friday. First up, here's PBS's Tavis Smiley, followed by Harvard law professor Charles Ogletree.
This town has been spinning a story that's not altogether true. He did not walk to the podium for an impromptu address to the nation. He was pushed to that podium. A week of protest outside the White House, pressure building on him inside the White House, pushed him to that podium.
I disagree with Tavis in a profound way. President Obama has been talking about race and doing things about race for a long time. And the reality is that he walked to the podium. He wasn't pushed to the podium. He walked to the podium. He's been trying to have this conversation, and this was the event, the criminal justice system, that pushed him over the level.
Jason, who do you think's right, pushed or walked?
I think it was a mixture of both. He might have sort of stumbled his way out there. Look, the reality is Barack Obama has been less than eloquent and forthcoming on race. Usually anything that he says to black people, he always has to sprinkle an element of blame and sort of cultural chastisement. But I think this is the point where he said, look, there are protests that are going to be happening within 24 hours in 100 cities across the country. If there was ever a time where I could say something and be candid, it's right now. So there was some internal pressure, but I also think it was a bit of him stumbling towards as well.
Robert, how about you? Do you think pushed, walked, or now stumbled to the podium?
You know, Jason and Tavis actually have a really good point. When you take a look at history and this president in race, he often is reactive when it comes to race. When you take a look at his comments during 2008, when he was running for president, he reacted to Jeremiah Wright. He wasn't proactively talking about it, whether it's Shirley Sherrod, whether it was the beer summit in Boston when that happened, a couple of us with Trayvon Martin. President Obama is very uncomfortable talking about race from the White House bully pulpit.
Wait a second, Robert, but as you listened to him, did you get a sense he was uncomfortable? I didn't.
No,
I got a sense he was very much speaking from the heart, talking about personal experiences, and wanted to just talk to everyone in this country.
What we saw last Friday was someone that was unscripted, that clearly gave a lot of context and a lot of thought to this issue, someone that felt very comfortable talking about this topic. But my simple point was, Alex, is that this is something that he does from a reactive standpoint. It's not from a proactive standpoint. But to your point, he seemed to be very comfortable talking about this topic, almost in a philosophical way, and kudos to him for doing it.
Patricia, what do you think in terms of how the White House is gauging the fallout here, if you will, both the pros and the cons to the president's speech?
Oh, well, I think, as you heard earlier, there was significant internal pressure on the president to go forward and speak. And I don't know that I think that he is reactive. I think that he is reluctant to speak about issues of race because it is so divisive and because it is impossible for him to make everybody happy when he says anything. And I think that the reaction to his remarks have been a great example of that. It's such a polarizing event that anything he says, even if he tries to toe the line, can't make everybody happy. And so I do think that he was speaking from the heart. I think he probably was advised now is the time to go say something. I believe he was going to say something. I think that before the weekend he was advised, okay, yes, now is the time to do it. How do you want to do it? Here's what we recommend. But I think when he did go out and he spoke very personally, and it was one of the rare instances where he spoke as an African-American man. I think he makes so many efforts to speak just as the president, and in this case he felt it was important for white America to understand why the reaction from black America has been so strong, and I thought he did a great job of it.
But Alex, the president has to lead. I mean, regardless of whether or not he's African-American or male or whatever, on these issues, you have to lead because you are the leader of the free world. You're the leader of all of us. And even though it may be uncomfortable, and although it may be not politically expedient, every single president, regardless of what it is, whether it's 9/11 or whatever the case may be, has to lead on these uncomfortable topics. And that's exactly what we're looking for the president to do.
I'm curious, and this is to all three of you. Do you think it is easier for an African-American president or a white president, a la Bill Clinton, to speak about race? Because when President Clinton put his race commission together and started doing the research and talking about and having this national dialogue, there doesn't seem to have been the same kind of pushback from an extreme side. Who wants to tackle that first?
I'll start. I mean, first off, we got a sample size of 1. I mean, he's the first black president, so it's going to be harder for him in general. And look, let's be honest. You know, this is a guy who people accuse him of being from Kenya, you know, lying his way through college, not being an American. If there's anybody who understands what it's like to be racially profiled, it's Barack Obama. And so I think part of what he was doing is he's attempting to be a leader on a subject that many people just don't ever want to hear anything about. So it's difficult for him to be proactive, but that's why I think in this particular instance it was so personal and so well received by a lot of people, not just in the African American community.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Alex, I think it's harder for him because the expectations are higher. I think that people expect him to solve these problems. As the first African-American president, people think that he should be able to do more than other presidents have in the past. So I think that he does more, frankly, than white presidents have in the past. He spoke to Morehouse College this year. He had a very, very hard message, I think, for that group of graduates to hear in terms of the role of men in African-American society, the role of raising their families, their responsibilities to raise their families. No white president has ever said that before. I don't think he gets enough credit, but I also think the expectations are higher, and he'll never be able to meet those expectations.
And in keeping with, you know, the big 3, Robert, very quickly, the second question was, where do we go from here?
That's the million-dollar question. I'm not sure anyone knows, quite frankly. We keep having this conversation over and over and over again, but to my earlier point, someone has to lead this conversation.
Okay, the big 3's must-reads include the man Motown is hoping will save the day. That's next.
My mother made the